In this video, we're going to be installing these rafter vents in the attic of my garage. This garage is roughly 26 by 26. The trusses are spaced on 24-inch centers. These are, I think the ADO Durovent is supposed to be a rafter vent with a built-in baffle. That's why it's not sort of symmetric all the way down. They got a couple of notches here. You're supposed to fold them back on themselves, and this acts as the rafter vent, and then you're not supposed to have to block it with any, normally block it with fiberglass bats or something to seal it up. So this will be my first experience with these. We'll get up in the attic, we'll start getting them installed, and I'll show you what they look like. Alright, so we're up in the attic, and you can see what I'm working with. It's not nearly as dark as this camera would make it out to be. You can see what we're working with. We got the drywall attached to the bottom of the truss. The end of the truss runs out, and that creates the soffit out there. So we're trying to, fill the gap there. We want to be able to bring air up from the soffit along the roof sheathing here, but we also want to create a seal between that rafter vent and the drywall, or that top plate. So these, these new Durovents with baffles built in are supposed to eliminate the need to use fiberglass bats to stuff in along the bottom there, and they're not really any more expensive than a regular baffle is, so I figured they're worth a shot. So I'm going to go ahead and get a couple of them installed, see if I can't work out the kinks on how they go in, and then I'll show you what they look like. Well, I've installed 6 of them so far, and I'm starting to get a little bit of a hang of it. You can see what they look like when they're installed. The stuff is pretty flimsy, and I don't know if you can see it or not, but around the staples, it seems like about half of them tear when you put a staple in. It doesn't matter if you use a hammer tacker or the staple gun, either or, but not the end of the world. The friction of the things almost would hold themselves in place, but I would just be nervous that the wind would blow them out, so I'm putting a few staples in every one of them anyhow. That was my first one there. You can see it kind of got ripped up a little bit. If they hang on the roofing nails, which they do, you can see all these nails poking out through the ceiling or from the roof. They get stabbed on those roofing nails, and this thin foam rips pretty easily. So you got to be pretty careful with them. But by the time we get down here to this one, I'm starting to get the hang of it a little bit. So again, I'm only 6 pieces in, and so far I like them pretty good. You do got to fight with them a little bit to get them where you want them. Kind of get that top in there, and then reach back there. And again, this is where I would really struggle with, getting back in these corners. I use my hammer tacker to poke that down where I want it. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but this bottom corner is pretty much in line with the top of the ceiling. So it's not like it's cheating in and I'm losing insulating value. This bottom corner is pretty much right flush with the edge of the ceiling. So run out of staples. Figures. That's it. Now we're going to go down to move you around here. So far, the ones that I've been working on are all 24-inch wide. I figured I'd start out on the easy ones and kind of get the hang of it a little bit. This one is the end truss, so I don't think that's quite 24, and we've got that 2x4 in the way. So I'm going to bring you guys along. You can see how much I'm going to end up struggling to, I don't know, cut this thing or fold it or something to get it to fit on this end. There we go. It's ugly, but it'll work. The whole idea of these things is to maintain ventilation. Down along the roof there, which you can see there's plenty of gap between there. Maintain ventilation and keep the insulation from spilling out into the soffit, and as well as keeping the wind from blowing the insulation away. So you're just creating a barrier there, which these things are working great. Even that's kind of ugly, but it'll work great. I'm going to keep on keeping on, and I'll show you what they look like when we're all done here. Well, I'm all finished. I installed 24 of these things all together up here, and I'm pretty happy with the performance of them. The couple of things that I did learn was you have to be very careful with them because they're very fragile. They rip. They get hung up on the roofing nails really easily. When you bend them, before you slide them down in there, you can rip them really easily. At the bends, they tend to rip. Other than that, I guess they're okay. They went in pretty well. I did go around with a can of spray foam. You can see around the boxes there. It only took me like, I don't know, I probably didn't use a half a can of spray foam to seal up. Like back there in that corner, of course that is not a 24-inch wide truss. I don't know exactly how wide this last one is here, but you can see where I kind of got creative with how I put the thing in there, and I just kind of smashed it back in there and stapled it, and I went back with my can of spray foam, sealed up the cracks on the edges, and it really wasn't that bad. Couple of misshapen ones again back in there. It's just the weird angle of the house. There's one back in there I had to spray foam around a little bit. That back corner one again was a narrow one. I had to do around really only one place where wires went through, and I just ripped the thing as I was installing it. I just kind of ripped it and tucked it back in there, came back through with that spray foam and hit it, and it went pretty well. Kind of a janky one back in there, a little bit of a spray foam. But again, I didn't use a half a can of spray foam up here altogether, and I went around a couple of boxes and some spots, in the drywall that were not perfect. So I'm pretty happy with how these things went, guys. It beat the heck out of handling a bunch of fiberglass bats to stuff in to make baffles with. So maybe give them a shot. Again, this is, they're called ADO Durovent. They were kind of hard to find in my area. My Do It Best stores, they didn't carry them at all. The guys said they knew what they were. They could order them for me, but they didn't carry them. They just carried the regular old standard Durovent. I found them at Lowe's, and Lowe's was limited stock and out of stock at most of the stores around me. I ended up buying them at Menards. So check for them there if you're looking for them. I hope I helped you with this one, guys. If I did, click that thumbs up button. If you want to see more videos of me working on all kinds of stuff, click the subscribe button. Until the next video, keep on tinkering.